Welcome to the Fantasy Football Goon podcast. And what's our last division preview? This time we're going to be going over the AFC West. Joining me as always is my buddy John Santucci. Tooch, what's going on, Tooch?
Hey, Joe. Just excited to be talking fantasy football again.
Yes, sir. And let's hop right into that AFC West. Let's start with the Los Angeles Chargers. Anthony Lynn in his first season as the head coach. Ken Wisenhunt still the offensive coordinator in his second year. And let's start with the man under center and Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, and I love this guy. I mean, I had him last year. He's fifth overall passing yards, fourth in passing touchdowns, and eighth in passing yards per game. So, I mean, he's a top 5 to 10 quarterback every year. You know, I mean.
And he's a guy you can get late in your draft, which is great.
You know, not as late as you're thinking anymore, because I think a lot of people expect him to have a really good year. You know, now that Keenan Allen is back and Melvin Gordon is actually, a decent running back. You get him late last year because, Melvin Gordon had a terrible rookie year.
Right.
But this year he's going in the 6th round, so you got to be prepared to pull the trigger on Phil Rivers.
Yeah, but it'll pay off for you. I mean, he's like we talked about some of his targets. I mean, you got Melvin Gordon. You got Keenan Allen back. You got Mike Williams, Travis Benjamin, Dontrell Inman, Tyrell Williams. You still got Antonio Gates. You have Hunter Henry. I mean, there is no shortage of weapons here.
He sure does, man. He sure does. I love Phillip Rivers this year. I think he's a great pickup for the later rounds, 6, 7 rounds. It all depends what kind of players you're playing with. The smart ones are going to snap him up. Some people will be trying to get him, 9th round, and they're going to miss out.
Yeah, he's not going to last that long.
Not anymore, no. As I said, he's going 6th round, sometimes 7th round. Yeah, I like that pick, Joe.
And let's talk a little bit about Melvin Gordon. Obviously, terrible rookie season, like we said, but he was a machine last year, and he brought you a fantasy championship.
Yeah, I took a flyer on him, I think, in the 3rd round, maybe 4th round. No, it's a 4th round, maybe?
Yeah, 4th round.
Yeah, I took a flyer on him in the 4th round. It was like, maybe because nobody else was there. Maybe I heard he had gotten in better shape and, looked good. This year he's working out a lot more too, and there's nobody but him. So I love Melvin Gordon this year, just because he's got nobody to challenge him. He's going to be on the field through all 3 downs.
Yeah, I mean, you got Brandon Oliver, and that's about it.
Yeah, there's nobody. Like I said, there's nobody. I don't even know if they have a 3rd down back.
I don't believe so. I believe the 3rd down guy is Brandon Oliver, and then you have Kenjon Barner.
Like I said, there's nobody but Melvin.
Yeah, Melvin's the guy, so he's one of those rare backs that doesn't have much challenge.
Really like that pick, and he's going, anywhere from 6 to 9 in the 1st round. So that's where you're going to have to spend to get him, 6th to 9th overall pick.
Yeah, and I think you and I both agree we love him, but yeah, it's a bit of a roll of the dice because he had one great season and one terrible season. So that's why he's going a little bit later than some of the lock guys. But overall, yeah. Melvin Gordon, great player. You're going to want him on your team. If he falls to you, you can do.
You're okay with him as your number 1 back?
Oh, I'm great with him as my number 1 back. I'd totally be comfortable with that.
Yeah, I am too, and I'll tell you why. Because they spent some time improving that offensive line. So, Melvin Gordon should, have a decent year. The offensive line is better than last year, and he still had an okay year last year, and this year preseason he's been busting tackles. So, I like this kid. He's going to get every goal line touch.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that. And
yeah, probably 40 catches.
Yeah, would not be surprised to see that. Let's talk a little bit about their wide receiving core. I mean, they got their number 1 guy back in Keenan Allen. He looks healthy. And for a guy going in the 4th, 5th round, Keenan Allen could very well be the top wide receiver in all of football this year.
Yeah, he's got potential. He's one of those guys that before you know it, that you're in the 3rd, 4th quarter and he's got 9 catches.
Yeah.
So he's one of those guys. He's a smaller guy. That's why he's had all the injury history. But he's coming back from injury this year. But he's small and he runs great routes and he's fast, he's quick. And Phillip Rivers knows him. So yeah, Keenan Allen is going to, as long as he stays healthy, he's got the potential to be, top 10 receiver for sure. They do have Tyrell Williams after him, and he's a really good player too. He's one of those guys that broke out last year, and he's one of those guys that runs those deep routes for Phillip Rivers, and great in the red zone too. But red zone, they're mostly looking for Antonio Gates, who still looks excellent.
Yeah, and you got Hunter Henry there too. I mean, you got two tight ends there that very capable of catching a pass. But we did skip over the fact that they drafted a wide receiver with their first pick in the draft. They drafted Mike Williams out of Clemson. He's 6'4", 218 pounds. Humongous target, fast, strong kid. I expect him to have a big impact too.
Yeah, I think he's injured and might start the season on the PUP list. That's why, I haven't seen him getting drafted. But yeah, you're right. This kid could have a big year. They still have, like you said, was it Dontrell Inman there?
Yep.
Is that the kid's name? And Travis Benjamin. I drafted Travis Benjamin last year. I thought he was going to be the deep ball threat, and he had like maybe 2 or 3 really good games and then disappeared.
Yeah, so Mike Williams is going to start the year on the PUP list, but he's expected to be activated by mid-October. So that's a guy that could be a season changer as well, kind of like Devontae Parker was a year ago.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. I just I don't think he's going to take unseat Tyrell Williams or Keenan Allen, but yeah, he's got some potential in the red zone for sure.
Yeah, I mean the guys you want to own, obviously Keenan Allen, Tyrell Williams, and Travis Benjamin.
You can get Travis Benjamin in your last round, but I still like Antonio Gates. He's just seems to get 6 touchdowns every year, but Phillip Rivers loves him in the red zone. He's looking for Gates. That's his guy. He finished. There were 7 touchdowns, which is like tied for second. The only guys who had more touchdown catches than him was his teammate Hunter Henry and Cameron Brate. So, Henry had 8 touchdowns, Gates had 7. So I don't remember Hunter Henry having that many touchdowns, but Hunter Henry also a great tight end pick.
Yeah, I mean both of those guys for me. I mean it's not totally out of the question that they both finish in the top 10.
Yeah, it's amazing. Hunter Henry only had 35 catches. 8 of them went for scores. That's like 25% of the time he's catching a touchdown.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, and
yeah,
it seems like every year Antonio Gates wins the battle with Father Time.
Yeah, I watched it. I saw him play just recently, and he looked great there. So yeah, I mean either one of those tight ends are going to be fine. They're decent picks. They're a threat to score every week. You see one had 7, one had 8. So I mean you got good odds of 50% chance of them getting a touchdown whatever game you start them.
Yeah, and Gates has injury questions, but could always be a guy that get hurt. But worth the risk, and especially considering how late he's going in a draft, definitely worth the risk.
Yeah, and Hunter Henry, had almost 500 yards receiving last year, so I expect him to take a step up this year as far as yards.
Mm-hmm.
Might not have 8 touchdowns. He still could, but in dynasty leagues, Hunter Henry's going to be a monster.
Oh, no doubt about it. And at kicker, they have Josh Lambo, who's a solid kicker as well. And let's talk a little bit about that Chargers defense.
Yeah, they still have a good pass rush with Joey Bosa. He had a decent rookie year. Always seemed to be pressuring the quarterback.
Yeah, they're a middle of the pack defense, and they're kind of swinging upwards, trending upwards. Drafted a couple defensive guys, a couple safeties, and defensive tackle out of Notre Dame, and Isaac Rochelle. So I think they could be a defense that is going to be a flyer for you week to week, especially when there's some weaker matchups.
Yeah, I'm okay with this defense. Joey Bosa had 10.5 sacks last year. So, I mean, he's good pass rusher if he continues that in his second season.
Yeah, I mean, and if they don't get drafted and they're doing great, pick them up off the waiver wire and see what happens.
Yeah, so the Chargers are a sneaky pick to actually win this division.
And they have the talent to do it. You never know.
They do. They have the talent to do it on offense, and they have an okay defense. I watch out. It would not surprise me if Phillip Rivers leads this team to a division title.
Would not be surprised either. I mean, they have a bye week in Week 9, and their second half schedule is not too shabby with Jacksonville, Buffalo, Dallas, Cleveland, Washington, Kansas City, Jets, and Oakland. I mean, that's a pretty favorable second half schedule. So, very possible you see this team in the playoffs. Another team that made the playoffs last year, and they just paid their quarterback in the offseason, is the Oakland Raiders. Jack Del Rio in his third season. Todd Downing taking over as offensive coordinator. Derek Carr got paid, and he's pretty darn good.
Yeah, he is good. He's got a great offensive line. This division, man, this is one of the toughest ones to pick. Any one of these four teams could win this division. I kind of like the Chargers to win this division, and Oakland to be like the next best chance, and Kansas City and Denver to kind of take a step back. I'm not sure in Kansas City if they're going to start Alex Smith anymore, but we'll talk about that. But Oakland, Derek Carr is a great pick. I kind of like him better as a 2, but if you have him as your number 1 quarterback, don't be upset because a lot of people are going to have him as their number 1 quarterback. He did just fine. There wasn't a lot of yards separating him from Phillip Rivers. Carr finished 14th in yardage, but only and Rivers finished 5th, but they were only separated by 400 yards. So, and I think Carr was injured one game, so he's got the potential to be a top 5 quarterback.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I mean, we love Derek Carr. His brother was David.
Yeah.
Marshawn Lynch coming out of retirement to play running back for his hometown Raiders.
Yeah, and he's going to get all the goal line touches for sure. Also, I forgot to say, Derek Carr had 28 passing touchdowns last year, so that's pretty darn good. Lynch, I'm not sure Lynch is going to get you, 1,000 yards again this year. He's advanced in age, but yeah, the goal line, he's awful tough on the goal line, man.
Well, he's been out of the league for a year or two, so he's going to have to get used to that again. But I do love him, especially as a goal line back. No one's going to challenge him for those carries.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to get all the goal line touches. You might see guys like DeAndre Washington and Jalen Richard, getting, in between the 20s, going to be getting, all the in between work while they wait for Lynch to get some other red zone carries and stuff. But I think Richard's more the third down back. He's a better receiver out of the backfield. Mm-hmm. Although Beast Mode catches the ball well out of the backfield.
He does, and I like Marshawn Lynch. I think he's going a little bit early for my taste. I don't know. What about you, John?
I do too. I totally agree with that. Yeah, it's a little early for me, but he has the brand name recognition, as they say. But I just don't see him like winning your league for you. I could be wrong. The guy could have 10 touchdowns, 12 touchdowns, but to me, I think I'm gonna. He's obviously the running back to own.
No doubt about that. I just think they're more of a passing team now.
I agree, and they have some good wide receivers.
They sure do, and leading the way in his third year in the league is Amari Cooper. Kid's a beast.
Yeah, Joe, this kid I love. I definitely would love to have him. I'm fine with him as a number 1 receiver. I know a lot of people aren't, but this is his third season, and third seasons are when wide receivers, make that great big jump, and Amari Cooper doesn't have a lot of touchdowns. I know that Michael Crabtree gets most of the red zone targets, but I think this year you're going to see Amari Cooper get some more touchdowns. What do you think?
Oh, I think so. I think it's just inevitable.
Yeah, he had 5 last year, so 8 isn't out of the question. I think had 83 catches last year, and 132 targets. Finished 8th overall with 1,153 yards. If he takes a step up, he's definitely going to be like a top 5 receiver.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. And they did pick up in the offseason a special teamer and wide receiver from the Vikings in Cordarrelle Patterson, who is going to have a positive impact on this team as well.
Yeah, I agree. You know what? I that's why I love the Oakland defense special teams pick this year, because of this kid. He's just a great kick returner.
He is.
He might be the best in the league at returning kicks right now.
He's got that explosion, that's for sure.
Yeah, and last year with Minnesota, he started to come on as a receiver.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him break out. Not that he hasn't before, but have a bit of a bigger role than people are expecting.
Yeah, he might. And then, of course, they still have Seth Roberts. Is that his name?
Seth Roberts.
And that guy seems to be like a red zone target and vulturing Amari Cooper's touchdowns. But Michael Crabtree seems to be the guy that Derek Carr loves down in the red zone. And he really surprised some people. Had quite a few touchdowns last year. Had 8 touchdowns. So.
Yeah, and Crabtree's a guy you can get pretty late too.
Yeah. He had 1,000 yards as well to go along with that. Doesn't catch as many balls as Amari Cooper, but he's definitely a good pick. I mean, he's the number 2, or to Amari Cooper number 1. So if you have Michael Crabtree as your second or third wide receiver, you're looking good.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. And they picked up a tight end in the offseason in Jared Cook, who is going to have a big effect because he's a big target, athletic guy, and arguably the best tight end that has been in an Oakland uniform.
Yeah, it was on the Packers last year. Had a lot of promise. He looked great in the preseason, then kind of didn't do anything. So he's kind of a question mark for me. You never know. I mean, you pick him up and you can get him late. I mean, sometimes he's not even going drafted.
Yeah, I mean, Jared Cook was huge in his days in Tennessee. And, I mean, Green Bay has chronically misused tight ends in their whole, in the history of the team. So I would not be surprised to see Jared Cook take a step forward and kind of lead that tight end core and put up some positive numbers.
Well, I'll tell you, if Jared Cook were playing against his own defense, he'd have great numbers, because Oakland is terrible against the tight end, just like they were last year. They forget to cover the tight end.
Yeah,
that's something we can talk about later. Hopefully their defense improves. They still have Khalil Mack there, and he's an excellent pass rusher.
Yeah, I mean, I love this defense. I have them rated number 11 overall. I think they're going to be a really good unit.
Yeah, they have good secondary too, and great special teams. And you're probably going to get at least one kickoff return touchdown from Patterson. So yeah, like I said, I do like this. I do like this pick, Joe.
And then they have Sebastian Janikowski, a kicker, the guy with the monster leg. So he's been a great kicker for a long time. And then they have their bye week in Week 10. So yeah, the Raiders are going to be good and exciting to watch.
Yeah, Janikowski, a really good kicker. He's got a big leg. So yeah, I like Janikowski.
And let's move into some of the other teams in the West. Denver Broncos. Vance Joseph taking over as head coach. Mike McCoy taking over as offensive coordinator. Trevor Siemian getting the start at quarterback over Paxton Lynch. So, first off, what do you think of him in his second year as a starter?
Yeah, I'm not looking at drafting any of the Denver quarterbacks. I just not thrilled if I'd have them as one of my quarterbacks, and kind of the only guys that really interest me are the 2 wideouts. on this team, and of course their defense, which is great. But I'm not sure Denver doesn't finish last in this division.
Yeah, they're definitely not as talent heavy as some of these other teams. They do still have C.J. Anderson, who I expect to have a pretty decent year this year. What do you think about C.J.?
Well, I think CJ's the guy to own there. Although from what I've heard, Jamal Charles has looked okay. Jamal Charles is great in pass protection. It's just that of course he's had the injury history, and he's up there in age as well. And then there's a promising young rookie that they are really high on named D'Angelo Henderson. And you never know. Again, this looks to me like one of those running back by committees.
Yeah, that's probably the case, and you can't forget that they still have Devontae Booker in that picture too. So, it's running back by committee. C.J. Anderson probably getting the majority of those carries, so I'm okay with drafting C.J., but I would stay away from the others. I mean, Charles could be a waiver wire pickup later on, but he will probably go drafted just because of his name. But they have two quality wideouts that you were talking about, John, and Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. Both those guys are quality options that will all probably both be off the board by the fifth or sixth round.
Yeah, Demaryius Thomas, he's going like third, fourth round. Because Demaryius Thomas is one of those guys that he's 1,000 yards every year. He's right around 5 to 8 touchdowns, and that's a great floor. People feel real comfortable with that. Also had 144 targets. Emmanuel Sanders right behind him with 137 targets. Like Emmanuel Sanders, he's that shifty kind of, Antonio Brown type smaller guy who really has no problem getting open. Demaryius is more of the bigger body guy, but Demaryius Thomas had 90 catches. That's 6 catches a game. So that's why people love Demaryius Thomas. And I'm okay with him if you end up only having him as your first receiver, but he's mostly ending up as people's second receiver.
Yeah, I like him better as a second receiver just because I'm not thrilled with the quarterback situation. But I would definitely take either of those guys, as they're both target machines.
If Phillip Rivers was the quarterback in Denver, you'd like Demaryius Thomas a lot more.
Oh yeah,
but he's not. So.
And at tight end, they've got Virgil Green, and then they drafted a promising rookie out of Michigan and Jake Butt, 6'5", 250 pounds. Both guys could have potential fantasy impact.
Yeah, and I know Butt is coming off an injury, but he's kind of like that Jay Novacek type. Great hands, good route runner, decent blocker. Me, man, I'm just not. Denver's offense just does not thrill me at all this year. I don't even like their kicker. The only thing I really like is their defense and Demaryius Thomas. And I'm okay with Manny Sanders. I'm trying to stay away from. They got a tough schedule too. Joe, What do you think?
Yeah, they have a tough schedule, and I think I agree with you. I think they'll probably finish last or second to last in this division. Only saving grace is the defensive unit, which is going to keep them in games. Brandon McManus is their kicker, who's he's middle of the line kicker. He's going to be okay, but I wouldn't go out of my way to draft him. They have a really early bye in Week 5, and this team is going to get gassed down the line. I think they're just going to get tired, and then they're going to have a real frustratingly tough schedule. I mean,
they have a rookie coach too, so I'm not expecting them to go anywhere. I think a fourth place finish is probably in the cards for them, but that's why I think this division is up for grabs. Denver's been near the top most of the time the past few years. Of course, winning the Super Bowl with Peyton Manning's last year. Mm-hmm. Defense is still good. Von Miller's still rushing the passer. They're going to be a decent defensive unit, but I think they're going to be playing from behind a lot.
I think they will be too. I still have them ranked at number 2 defense just because of the amount of turnovers that they're going to generate. I expect them to be one of the best defensive units, but again, it's going to cost you to get them early, so I don't recommend doing that. because I mean, let's talk a little bit about their schedule after their bye. I mean, they have the bye week in week 5, right? Then you go to the Giants, you go to the Chargers, Chiefs, Eagles, Patriots, Bengals, Raiders, Dolphins. Then you get the Jets, little break, Colts, little break. Then you finish with the Redskins and the Chiefs. I mean, that's a pretty tough schedule.
Yeah, I agree. That's I don't like their schedule. I mean, I still love their secondary. I mean, they got great cornerbacks. Von Miller rushing the passer. But, man, they got their offense. I think offense is going to struggle to put points on the board.
I would agree with you, John. And another team that I think is going to take a step back is the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, you've got Andy Reid in his 5th season. And then you got 2 guys calling the plays, Brad Childress and Matt Nagy. Alex Smith is at the top of the depth chart, but Patrick Mahomes is challenging, and he might be the starter.
Yeah, I think he will be. I don't think there's any question. That their 2 wide receivers are not built for a quarterback with an arm like Alex Smith's. They're perfect for Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes throws a great deep ball. He's a gunslinger. He throws the ball 60 yards in the air, no problem. I wouldn't be surprised if he could throw it end zone to end zone.
Well, that'd be nice. And we talked a little bit about the big injury that came out last week. Spencer Ware is out for the season with a torn PCL. Rookie Kareem Hunt expected to take the majority of the carries. Obviously, Charkandrick West will play into that as well, but we both think Kareem Hunt is going to be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. They traded up to get him, in the draft. And you want him, you're going to have to spend a 3rd-round pick to get him.
That's right. You're going to, especially now.
Yeah. Now, the reason why people like Kansas City Chiefs running back is that Andy Reid likes to feature the running back, rushing and catching the ball in the backfield. And, we'll see, though, if Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback, if that still holds true, because, he might not be dumping it off to the back as much as Alex Smith does.
Well, either way, I think Kareem Hunt will be catching some passes out of that backfield. Charkandrick West will, too, because he likes to catch balls. But let's talk a little bit about their wide receiving core. They cut Jeremy Maclin, and now you got Tyreek Hill, Chris Conley, and Albert Wilson kind of leading the way.
Yeah, and they took Tyreek Hill off of kick return duties, which I think is a mistake. But they don't want to get him injured. But he's been struggling, to find himself as a wide receiver. But man, this dude is so fast. He is a freak. He's like 4.2 speed. You got quarterbacks that give him 10, 15-yard cushion. That's some easy catches if they want to go short.
Yeah.
But you start lulling you to sleep with those short passes, he's going to get by you and he's going to catch an 80-yard touchdown on you. And that's what they're hoping for. Now, Tyreek Hill doesn't have the best hands, but Chris Conley does have better hands, and he's fast too, and he's big. So, don't fall asleep on Chris Conley either. He could be a surprise pick too. And you know what? He's a starting wide receiver. You get him as your 4th wide receiver. You still got a starting wide receiver. But Tyreek Hill, you're going to have to get him in the 5th round if you want Tyreek Hill. You want that potential, which is a guy who's uncoverable, but sometimes doesn't come up with the ball. Yeah,
and then they also drafted a rookie wide receiver out of Michigan, and Jehu Chesson, wide receiver, 6'3", 200 pounds. He's a great player too, and I'm not exactly sure how he's going to fit in that mix, but could be worth a waiver wire pick later in the year.
Yeah, they're really trying to improve that wide receiving core because, as you and I stand here today, it doesn't look great.
Yeah,
it doesn't look threatening. Of course, people are scared of Tyreek Hill. He scored once every 1 in 11 times he touched the ball. So, in every 11 times he touched the ball, he gave you a touchdown.
Wow,
now that's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
But he just has not been able to put it together. Is this the year that he puts it together and gives you the explosion? I don't think he's ever going to be a guy like Antonio Brown where he's running these great routes and stuff. But if this guy puts it all together, he could really explode, man.
He really could, and add into the mix that they have one of the best tight ends in football in Travis Kelce. I mean, they're just a potent offense.
Yeah, they got a lot of potential. And I'm telling you, Pat Mahomes is a playmaker. I'm one. I mean, I don't know if I'd spend a pick on Patrick Mahomes right off the bat, because I still think Alex Smith is going to open the season as a starter. But like you said, I mean, Patrick Mahomes, great chance of starting eventually. And I tell you, with all those weapons, Joe, this is a kid that could be putting up 300 yards a game. You know, if he does get the starting job, he's going to make mistakes. But he's got some mobility too. He can escape, and he'll leg some plays out, much like Russell Wilson does. But man, this kid can throw the ball a long way. And if he gets Tyreek Hill and Chris Conley underneath some of those deep balls, watch out.
Yeah, and definitely in dynasty and keeper leagues, you want to draft Patrick Mahomes. I mean, there's no way about it. There's no way around it. Definitely going to be one of the big stars in this league.
Yeah, he really could. He's like Mitchell Trubisky. Those two are going to be talked about, in the coming years.
Oh yeah, and
Deshaun Watson. That was a good quarterback year for quarterbacks this year. So
yeah, it sure was.
And next year is going to be good too. So we'll see. Good news for the sport. That's what we're saying.
And obviously, we both love Travis Kelce at tight end. I got him ranked. I have him ranked number 1 over Gronk. I expect him to continue. If you're going to get him, you probably have to get him in the second or third round. But tight end is kind of a scarce position, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, you got to spend a third round pick to get Kelce. Sometimes a fourth round pick, but that's where he's going. If you pick him, you're going to get some great games out of him. I still kind of like Gronk. If you take away the injury factor out of Gronkowski, I still like Gronk as the better tight end. I mean, he's just an animal. Now that Edelman is out for the season, I like Gronk even more.
Yeah.
But Kelce, they're both 1A and 1B. To me, those are the two top tight ends.
Yep, and their kicker's still Cairo Santos. He's a really solid kicker with a soccer background, so gotta love that. And Santos has been historically played pretty well, even in the winter months. That defense, though, in Kansas City is the star.
Yeah, they're good, and they have decent special teams, but I mean, I'm thinking they're going to take a step back this year. I just don't see them having as good a year as last year, with the Oakland and Los Angeles Chargers being much improved. So, and of course, they have a tough schedule, like you said. But AFC West has got a tougher schedule looking like this year. But, Kansas City defense, they're getting drafted, one of the top, 5 to 10 defenses off the board.
Yeah, I like them so much. I have them ranked at number 1. I just think they have so much talent and so much turnover ability. I think they are the best fantasy defense. But, again, where you have to draft them to get them, personally, I don't think they're worth it.
Yeah, I think I had them last year, and, they did fantastic for me. And I loved their special teams, especially Tyreek Hill. I don't know. I think the only way to go is down from there. I'm going to wait. People are, like you said, people are taking them off the board pretty early.
Yeah, definitely worth waiting. As we both think, the Broncos and Chiefs will be in the basement of this division, but only time will tell. Their bye week for the Chiefs is in Week 10, and I think that we can both agree there's the winds of change are blowing in the AFC West, and I can't wait to watch.
It's to me, it's one of the most interesting divisions, so I would love watching that race too.
Well,
towards the end, I still like Oakland and the Chargers to be battling for that top position. But like you said, Kansas City, is right in that mix. But I think, you and I both agree, Denver is probably the last place team in that division.
Most likely, but we will find out soon. Season starts on Thursday. Ready to rock and roll with that. And that wraps up our division preview for the 2017 NFL season. John and I will be doing a final draft prep podcast next, so tune in for that. We'll talk a little bit about strength of schedule, final cuts, contract year players, and targeting quality players who had a down year last year. John, as always, thanks for helping me out, buddy.
Oh, it was great, Joe. Really fun. I love talking fantasy football with you.
Me too, bud. And thank you all for tuning in. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at FFBGoon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and visit us on fantasyfootballgoon.com. As always, thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you guys next time.